Hi, within this section, we're going to learn the basics of SQL. So I have heard people pronouncing this SQL or SQL. You're more than welcome to choose your own way of pronouncing. I'm going to refer this as SQL. So this is structured query language and it allows us to communicate with the databases on the servers. And within the next section, we're going to focus on how to gather information from the database. And in order to do that, first we have to understand the basics of this language. So within this section, we're going to focus on the simple commands of SQL. So now if you're ready, let's get started.
Hi, within this section, we're going to focus on SQL knowledge. And within this lecture, we're going to see what SQL really is. So, as you might know, most of the websites actually use databases to store their information. So, databases are used in order to store some data like usernames, passwords, credit card information, personal information of users, or any other data, any other variable that you might think of needs to be stored. So most of the websites have their databases on their server. And we use SQL, we use structured query language in order to write some data or read some data to databases and from databases. So it allows us to interact with the database. So later on, within the following section, we're going to focus on SQL vulnerabilities so that we can find a way to run some SQL codes and retrieve or write data to databases of the vulnerable websites. But before we do that, we have to know how to work with SQL. So within this section, we're going to learn about the fundamentals of the SQL. So I'm going to stop here, and following the next lecture, we're going to start learning about SQL and we're going to practice writing or reading some data from and to databases. Hi! Within this lecture, we're going to see the fundamentals of SQL and what it is used for in the real life examples. So I went into some website called SQLiteOnline.com. So in fact, we're going to use a simple version of the SQL running online in order to test some codes. And I found it by searching in Google SQLite Online, SQLite Online Browser, SQLite Online Examples, and it turns out there are a lot of websites providing these services, but this website is totally free and it is working well. So I have chosen this one, SQLiteOnline.com. So in the left pane, you see our database, okay? We have a table in our database called demo. So you can think, what is a table? So think your database like an Excel file, okay? So if you open an Excel file, what you will see first? You have to create a sheet in order to write some data into rows and columns. Remember? So this table is kind of a sheet in an Excel file. An Excel file itself is the database. So this is only an example, but you can see the representation. So our table is the sheet and our database itself is the Excel file. And in our table, in our sheet, we have some columns like this, and we have some rows like this. So this is nothing different than a simple Excel sheet, okay? So we have a column in here called ID, and we have a column in here called name. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see it better. So this is the first column, this is the second column, and this is the third column. and we have the values in here, okay? So this is the first value, this is the first row of ID column. And in the name column, we have the first value, we have the first row as SQLite, so they are all dummies, okay? When you first open SQLiteonline.com, it gives you these values by default. So these are dummy values. We can actually change them. And we have a column called hint, and we have some dummy values here as well. So this is what an actual database looks like in a real life example. So in a real life website, you would see columns like ID, username, user password, user credit card information, and so on. But remember that this is an Excel file, okay, and this is a sheet, and these are the columns and the rows of an Excel file. If you consider this database as an Excel file, I believe you can understand it easily. And in the top pane here, you see some codes. Let me zoom in a little bit. So as you can see, it says that select star, and star means everything. Select everything from demo, and demo is our table name. So when we run this command, we see the results in here, okay? So these are the everything. This is all the values that are stored in the demo table. So right now, our main goal is to learn how to run these commands, how to write some SQL code in order to retrieve data, in order to write some data, and if delete or update data if necessary. So I'm going to stop here and teach you how to do that in the following lecture. Hi, within this lecture, we're going to see how to add some data to database and how to read some data from database all together. So when we write a command in here, if we click on run, it will run this command and display the result in here. Right now, we are saying select everything from demo, and if I hit run, it will display the result down here. And it is in fact the result because it displays all the recorded variables, all the recorded values within this database, and we want that to happen because we have written down select everything from demo. So let me zoom in a little bit more so we can see it better. Now, first thing that I want to do is to add another record in this database. And as I said before, we have three columns. We have ID, we have name, and we have a hint. And we have to give values to each columns when we try to store a data in this database. So let me show you what I mean. So let me zoom in once more, and I'm going to write insert, okay? And this is the command to insert a new record in a database, and then I'm going to say insert into, and then you have to specify the name of the table. So I'm going to insert something into the demo, and then I have to specify the column names. So ID, comma, with space, name, comma, with space, and hint. Okay? So I'm going to insert something into the demo, and I'm going to specify the values for ID, name, and hint. And these values will be what? So I'm going to write values, and you have to be careful with the uppercase and lowercase syntax in here because SQL requires this. And after that, I will open a parenthesis and I will specify the values that I will be using. So the first one will be the ID, and as you can see, ID ends with 16. Now I'm going to say 17, and in fact it really doesn't matter. Let me say 18 for example, okay? and then I'm going to specify a name, and I'm opening and closing a quotation mark because in the first column I have to specify an integer, which is a number, and we're going to see what an integer or a number or a text means in the Python section. Don't worry, but just know that the integer means a whole number, and the ID is requiring a whole number, and this name and hint requires a string, a text, okay, a simple text. So I'm going to say James in name, and I'm going to say guitar in hint, okay? After that, I'm going to close this parenthesis, and I am done with the first comment. And as in here, I have to end this line with a semicolon. So I'm going to add this here, and I'm going to zoom out and hit run. So when I hit run, it got executed, but now I don't see it because I have to run, select everything from demo one more time. But if I run this once again, then this will be trying to add the demo with these column names and with these values one more time, so this will be duplicated and it will give us an error. So rather I'm going to cut this, okay? I'm not going to use this one more time. I'm just going to run this. So if I say run, then I will see my latest record down here. So I see the ID as 18 and the name is James and the hint is guitar. So when I run this one more time, nothing will change because I'm not adding or deleting or updating anything anymore. So let me open my notes. So you can do that with some simple text or some leaf pad or whatever text editor you have in your own operating system, and I'm going to copy this comment that I have deleted, I have cut from here in order to take some notes. And you don't have to do that actually, but if you want to take notes, you can use this, okay? And I'm going to copy this as well, and I'm going to paste it in here, and at the end of this section I'm just going to give all of these comments to you. Maybe you can try to run this on your own in your own spare time. So right now I'm going to stop here, and within the next lecture we're going to see how to delete some values or update some values if necessary. Hi, within this lecture we're going to see how to update some values or delete some values from database using SQL. So we have already learned how to add some values to a database or a table using insert into command. Now I'm going to use another command, which is delete. So if you want to delete something from a database, you can use this command. So start with delete, and of course you have to specify the table name that you will be deleting, okay? And you have to be careful at this, because if you delete something without filtering any values, you may end up with deleting everything in a database. Because I'm going to say delete from demo, and if I don't add any more parameters, it may give any error, or it may just delete everything in this demo database. So I'm going to add a filter, and in order to do that, I'm going to use var. So it means that I'm going to using a filter. So I'm going to say delete from demo if only the name is, okay, name is James, for example. And beware that I'm using quotation marks when I specify the value of this name. So if I do that, it will only find the values that has the name of James, and it will only delete those values. So let me add the semicolon to the end and run this. So let me zoom out and run. So I have run this, but I still see the below, okay, because I didn't run select everything from demo afterwards. So I'm going to do that again. I'm going to cut this and I'm going to add it in my notes, and then I'm going to run this one more time, and as you can see, we don't have the 18th ID anymore. It just deleted it. So this is how you delete a value from a database. But sometimes maybe you just want to update the value rather than deleting it. So let me run insert into command one more time to have an example in here. Okay, insert into demo, and remember how we did that. I just have to say I'm going to add ID, name, and hint, and the values will be 18 or 17 this time, okay, and the name is Atil and the hint is test. So let me close this parentheses and run this, and let me delete this line. If I run this one more time, I will see my latest record has been added to my demo database. So right now I'm trying to change the value of this ID to be 18, for example. So in order to do that, I'm going to use a command called update. I'm going to say update, and what I'm going to update is the demo, okay? I'm going to update the demo, and I'm going to use a new keyword as set, okay? I'm going to set ID to be 18, and I'm only going to do that if the name is Atil. So I'm going to say var name is Atil, okay? So let me zoom out and try to run this, and let me cut this, delete this, and hit run one more time, and as you can see, my ID is updated to 18 in fact. So right now I know how to update data, update values as well. So let me open my notes and paste it in here. So far we have learned how to add some values, how to insert some values, how to update them, and how to delete them. So let's stop here, and within the last lecture of this section, we're going to focus on deepening our knowledge of where keyword, where filters. Hi, within this lecture, we're going to see how to use where keyword in selecting some values from databases as well. So far, we have seen how to insert data, how to delete data, and update those values in a certain table, in a certain database. But what we didn't see, we can use this where keyword when we try to select some data from a certain table. So far, we have selected everything from demo, but also I can say select everything from demo where name is Atil, okay? And if I run this, it will only display the result that is applicable to this filter. And as you can see, I have only one result. And I can do this with other stuff as well. I can say just display where ID is 18 or maybe 15, for example. And if I run this, I will get the ID of 15. But beware that I'm not using quotation marks in this case because this is a number, this is not a text. And I can do that for ID is 1. And I got the first record in my database. And of course, I can do something more than that. I can also say, just show me the values whose name is starting with S or whose name is ending with S or something. How do we do that? We use the same command, okay, select everything from demo, And rather than saying var ID is this or var name is this, we use some keyword called like. And this is used like this. So I can say var name like, okay, it means that name will be having this regular expression. And in order to do that, in order to specify, I will do it like this. So a and percent. So if I run this, it will show me the results whose name is starting with a. Okay, it means that it is starting with a and the rest doesn't even matter. So I can do it like this, percent and a, for example. And if I hit run, it will show me the results that is starting with something but ending with a. And apparently I don't have any data ending with a. So maybe if I do something like 1 and say run, and I believe I don't have anything like this. So let's try s. I don't have anything like this. Let me do it like this, starting with s and percent. So I have something ending with e, for example. Let me try that, percent e, okay. And if I hit run, it will only show me the values whose name is ending with e. So this will make your life easier when you try to read values from a database containing hundreds of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of records in it. So maybe you hacked into a database containing hundreds of thousands of user information and you're only trying to find the username admin. So you can just try to filter your queries against this name. So right now you know how to do that. And actually we're going to stop here, and within the next section we're going to see how to use this information in order to inject some SQL codes into the websites and in order to read and write data to databases.
Now you know how to write some values to the databases, how to read some values from databases, how to update them, and how to delete them. Now you're ready to go on to the next section where we are going to focus on SQL injection vulnerabilities of websites.